All right, let's get into a story that has absolutely obsessed and divided the country. The death of Jeffrey Epstein and the hunt for whatever secrets he took with him. You know, it's a wild story about power, about conspiracy, and really about a deep breakdown in public trust. So, what actually happened? I want to start with just one number because it tells you everything you need to know about this story. 45%. According to polls, that's how many Americans believe Jeffrey Epstein was murdered. Not that he died by suicide, that he was killed. And get this, only 16% believe the official story. That huge gap, that's where this whole mystery lives. And this was the official explanation trying to fill that gap. The Attorney General at the time, William Barr, called it a perfect storm of screw-ups. It's a phrase that, yeah, admits the system failed spectacularly. But, and this is key, it stops short of saying it was a conspiracy. And for almost half the country, that explanation it wasn't nearly good enough. To really get a handle on this firestorm, we've got to go back to August 10th, 2019. That's the day Epstein was found dead in his jail cell. But before we even get into how he died, we have to understand who he was. Who was this guy? And why did his life and his death shake the very foundations of power? I mean, Epstein's rise it was almost unbelievable. He starts out as a math teacher in '76, and somehow, by the '80s, he's a Wall Street powerhouse, managing money for the absolute richest people in the world. But of course, there was this incredibly dark side to it all, which led to that very controversial plea deal for sex crimes back in 2008. So when he got arrested again in 2019 on these huge federal sex trafficking charges, he wasn't just some inmate. He was a man who held the secrets of some of the most powerful people on the entire planet. Okay, so let's get into the night he died and back to that phrase, a perfect storm. This is really where the official story starts to fall apart for a lot of people, and where this series of really, really troubling facts starts to fuel all that public suspicion. Just think about how many things had to go wrong, all at the exact same time. Epstein was supposed to have a cellmate. He didn't. The guards were required to check on him every 30 minutes. Nope, they didn't do that. In fact, they fell asleep for about 3 hours and then lied on the official records. Oh, and the 2 security cameras pointed right at his cell? They just malfunctioned. Is that a series of unbelievable coincidences, or is it something else? And it wasn't just problems with the procedures. The actual forensic evidence is at the heart of this whole debate. The official ruling from the medical examiner was suicide by hanging. Simple as that. But a pathologist hired by Epstein's own brother, a guy named Dr. Michael Baden, he pointed to something pretty chilling. Multiple fractures in Epstein's neck that he said looked way more like someone being strangled than a typical hanging. So, when you have all these institutional failures, all this conflicting evidence, it's really no surprise the public is so skeptical. When you add it all up, a mind-blowing 84% of Americans either think he was murdered or they're just flat out unsure. That is a serious, serious lack of faith in the official story. So, with Epstein gone, the big question totally changed. It wasn't how did he die anymore, it became what secrets died with him. The suspicion that he was silenced to protect powerful people led to this one single, overwhelming public demand. Release the files. Release the list. So what even is this Epstein list people talk about? Well, it's the idea of this single damning document with the names of all his powerful clients, maybe even something he used for blackmail. It became like the Holy Grail. But here's the thing. The Department of Justice eventually came out and said that this single, neat, organized list that everyone was imagining, it just didn't exist in the evidence they found. And the fight to actually see these documents turned into a whole political drama. It started out as a campaign promise. But then, when the DOJ said there was no list, the public backlash was just huge. The pressure got so intense that Congress basically had no choice. They passed the Epstein Files Transparency Act with almost everyone on board, forcing the government's hand. Which brings us to the last and maybe the most frustrating part of this whole saga. Millions of pages of documents were finally released. The public got what they demanded, but did it actually bring the answers everyone was looking for? Look, the document dump was enormous. We're talking over 6 million pages. And yes, it absolutely confirmed Epstein was connected to all sorts of rich and famous people. But the bombshell client list that everyone was waiting for, it wasn't there. A lot of the information had actually already come out in other court cases, and it didn't spark a big wave of new arrests. For a lot of people, it just felt like a letdown. The investigative reporter Julie K. Brown, who broke a huge part of the story, she put it perfectly. She said the idea of a list is really just a red herring. His famous Black Book wasn't some organized client list. It was a phone directory. It had everyone from celebrities and politicians to, like his electrician. It was a tool for a social climber, not a smoking gun. So we're left in this strange place. The files are out there for everyone to see, but the mystery feels like it's deeper than ever. The whole Epstein saga has become this powerful symbol for our time, an era of deep, deep mistrust in our institutions, where even millions of pages of documents can't seem to bring any real closure. And it leaves us with this one really haunting question. When trust is completely gone, can any amount of evidence ever truly be enough?